Welcome to the Two Fat Guys in the Album podcast, your weekly dive into iconic albums and our search for the modern classics. In this episode, we explore the 1997 OK Computer album by Radiohead. This atmospheric alt-rock album was nominated for Album of the Year and won Best Alternative Album of the Year. It is arguably the last masterpiece of the alt-rock era. OK Computer, I want full manual control now. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more album reviews, in-depth conversations, and music analysis from two fat guys who love talking about music, no matter the genre. I am Mike Blackburn. I will be your host and narrator, and with me, as always, is the maestro of music, the siren of sound, the doctor of the diminished chord, Brek Hufnus. Good morning, maestro.
Good morning. Here we are.
Welcome to episode 13.
It is 3rd, I think.
Wow.
You're the numbers guy.
We're rolling.
Also, it's the afternoon, but why split hairs so early in the show?
That's right. So typically at this point, we review the previous show and make any corrections or commentary or any arguments you weren't prepared to make that you may have gotten bested at. Stuff like that. Sorry. Do you have any other comments?
Okay, just a couple things to run by.
Yep.
None of the stuff that you just said, actually.
That's fine.
But, okay, first of all, we were talking, I'm still on this arena rock thing from, I don't know if that counts, from last episode or 2 episodes ago.
A couple episodes ago.
So I'm a couple episodes behind.
So when you
I don't actually know what I did this morning, so...
So when you say you're still on the arena rock thing, so I postulated...
Yeah, it's a big word.
That rock was dead because there was no bands within the last 20 years that could fill the stadium.
Right, and then I countered quickly with Imagine Dragons and won that argument. But I'm not even going in that direct. Yeah. I'm not even going. But this is the just the tip of the iceberg here. I just have one thing related to that because I know already. Like Disturbed is a band that I want to bring up.
Sure.
But they're a 90's band, so it still doesn't contribute to my argument, I suppose, right? Did you know that they were performing at the UC and ruined the Bulls banners, and they had to take the Bulls banners down because of the pyro? Disturbed was doing an arena rock show.
Yeah, I think I
and
they are from the 90's, and they did absolutely blow up once they copied like a 1970s song, right?
I don't even know. I just know they blew up the Bulls banners at the United Center.
They went from kind of a niche band with a decent song to being huge by...
Which song? I'm sorry.
Sound of Silence.
Oh, yeah, they did a great job. It's an amazing cover.
Yeah.
It's actually one of the top covers. When we get to our cover show, that we'll be certainly talking about Disturbed for that reason and not for blowing up. But my point being, arena. They were playing in an arena, much to the chagrin of the Chicago Bulls.
Right. Okay.
Okay. And then I did have a word of the day. That's all. I just have a word. It's actually 2 words.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And you have a philosophy background, right? So you might be familiar with this. But before I get there, as I said, I'm reviewing the show from a couple weeks ago, so I'm very timely. I'm right on top of all this. And again, you're talking about your rock is dead theory, and I'm listening to you babble on this.
Ouch.
And I'm getting annoyed all over again. I literally had to turn it off. I did not get past. I had to turn it off. I only got past like the first 5 minutes of that particular episode.
That I thought was one of our more brilliant back and forth.
It's the closest we've come to blows. other than calling Van Morrison yacht rock, which still may be the end of you. But and again,
I never said he was yacht rock. I said he's the godfather of yacht rock.
If you ever use his word and yacht rock in the same sentence again. So just so people know, we are very good friends. We go way back. It's all in good fun.
Sort of.
But this is not an act. We are really like,
Yeah.
I'm irritated. And
right.
so we spend a lot of we're
what
really
irritates
good
you?
friends, but we spend a lot of time arguing about stupid things, really, and nothing of importance, I would say, which makes
well,
everything okay.
Music, sports, golf, I think.
It's kind of none
All
of those things will,
Yeah.
So I'm not even getting into the argument of it because it's pointless, but I'm going to tell you why it's pointless. Because I've gone through some personal growth. And you may... So again, back to your philosophy background. Do you know the difference between deductive and inductive arguments? Deductive and inductive arguments. These are 2 words of the day.
I would say that those sound familiar, but pulling a dictionary definition of them off the top of my head,
It's
I
been a
could not
while.
do.
It's
Yeah,
fair. I
yeah.
don't hold that against you. By the way, and I have to back up one point, because when I was listening to this, you had said something like, we're 10 minutes into the discussion and I haven't even let you make your point yet. So you had said those words, and I'm just saying, right. So we had already, you hadn't even said where you're going, but
Right.
you had postulated a few things. So here's what I've learned in my journey of personal growth. I tend to use what's called deductive reasoning. Okay? And deductive reasoning starts with a general premise or fact and builds to a conclusion. So if the premises are true, and you have a series of premises, and those premises are true, then the conclusion follows that the conclusion is true.
Sure.
Okay, this is deductive reasoning.
That would be the therefore statement.
Yeah, if this, then that.
Yeah.
One
Therefore.
example that AI gave me was all dogs are mammals. Fido is a dog. Therefore, Fido is a mammal.
Okay. So that therefore.
And then the converse of that is that if you're making this argument and one of the premises or multiple premises in your case happens to be false, then the conclusion is not true. So that's deductive reasoning. And I believe this is how I operate. I mean, this is how my brain works, is all I'm going to say. This is not going to be an attack on you. You'll be happy to know.
Okay.
But I do believe that you are a person that uses inductive reasoning. Okay? Inductive reasoning starts with and it's a valid, like before you get all, this is not an attack. It is considered a valid way of approaching things. I'm not sure why, but it is. So there's nothing wrong with using inductive reasoning on its face. But inductive, you look like you're waiting for the truck to run you over. Okay, here it goes.
Waiting for it to go somewhere.
So starting with an observation and then generalizes to a conclusion. So you observe something, and that observation then you draw a conclusion from that observation. So the example I was presented with is every swan I have seen is white, therefore all swans are white. This is an example of inductive reasoning, and clearly this example is flawed, but there's more.
I get it.
Yeah. So the conclusion is possible, but not guaranteed to be true. All right? One way to win an inductive argument is to provide a great deal of evidence, building a strong argument, but not necessarily a perfect one, because using inductive reasoning, you can't really build a perfect one, but you pile on enough evidence and you argue cleverly enough.
My skill set.
That's exactly what I'm saying. This is exactly where I'm going with it. So by this logic, there is value in the strength and persuasiveness of the argument. This is why you can't talk 10 minutes without me trying to stop you, because your premises are all like like they explode my brain.
So in this case,
yes,
where the hypothesis was rock is dead,
right? Which
because
okay.
there hadn't been like
An arena show.
and not even an arena show, but a huge rock band in the last 20 years that came into existence. That's all I was saying.
Other than
and
Imagine
so
Dragons.
the influence of rock had waned in our society and had moved on to other things.
Right.
And I think even some of the commenters on our various social media sites have said sort of the same thing.
Right.
And so I'm not really trying to. I mean, with that question, I was honestly interested in your take on it. I
Yes.
wasn't trying to
And yet you did.
poke the bear,
Yes.
because, is there any, what happened to rock? Where'd it go? Where are all the big bands? It's kind of and it really has stemmed from, as the argument I made on that show 2-3 shows ago.
Right.
That it was kind of sad how we were losing the musical artists of our youth or when we became coming of age.
Yeah.
Those artists are starting to pass away, and so it made me think about the fact that rock was kind of dying both literally and figuratively, and I thought it was a cool conversation, and it clearly irritated you to no end.
It's an excellent example of inductive reasoning.
Thank you.
So that is why I believe we will always. This show will never run out of content
Yeah.
because I do think we
approach
look at
things-
it
Sure.
from a different point of view. We are destined to argue about this stuff forever. We are the Sisyphus of podcasts.
You
Two
can
fat
Google
guys
that.
in an album, the Sisyphus of music podcasts.
Yeah.
And actually, if deeper connections might want to,
Right.
drop a comment just to
Yeah.
verify that I'm somewhere
Yeah.
in the ballpark with all this. But anyways, that's it. That's all I really had from the previous episode.
So, kind of tying back. So, I have a question for you.
All right.
And I'm sort of tying back to some previous comments. Various times when we talk about art and artists and music, it's hard to separate kind of the music from the music industry. You have the producers and the record, the album, the studios that promote the albums, record the album, pay for the albums,
Right.
and then the radio stations, of course, that play the albums.
Mm-hmm.
And we are talking about today like one of the great kind of art rock albums. Right?
Yes.
So, and I think they Radiohead. So that's OK Computer by Radiohead, and I think they've even said in interviews and basic commentary that they intentionally didn't have kind of a radio song on there.
Right. I mean, it turns out Karma Police did pretty well. But,
There were
I know what
couple of them. Couple of them did pretty well.
But I know what you're saying. It's right. It's an anti-commercialism album.
Well, and the
almost.
whole themes of it and everything else, and I'm
Exactly.
sure we'll get there. But
Right.
so kind of the question I have, because I honestly don't know, is and your comment was that by using terms like genre and stuff,
Yes.
you pigeonhole bands into playing a certain sort of music. So my honest question is, what is the relationship between the artist, the musicians, the band, and the recording studio? What do they owe each other?
Have you seen the cover art to "Wish You Were Here"?
Sure.
I think that kind of sums it up a
Yeah.
bit. I think. Well, first of all, again, from the genre discussion, I think I look at it from an artist point of view, and you look at it more from an industry point of view. From a
Business. You have to have something to market. You have
I guess
to
a
have something to sell.
business, a market. If a radio programmer, is very concerned about these genre things because people are making not necessarily the artists. The artists. Not to rehash this whole thing. I'll try to put it just into a sentence in terms of the genre. Is artists don't think in terms of genres, and most of the time they're trying to break out of the pigeonholes that they've been placed into. Most of the time they feel, I would say, enclosed or captured and entrapped by genre talk. And so I tend to not take genres very seriously. I know there's valuable in terms of communicating and explaining what music sounds like, because it's hard to explain how music sounds like. So giving a genre is a frame of reference. But when it goes beyond that and musicians aren't able to create their work that they want because they don't fit a category, because the marketers don't know how they're going to market it, because the radio stations don't want to play it because they haven't created an audience for it. So I think that's where artists, and I mean, there are many, that could be another top 10 list for us, or 5 list of songs bashing the music industry that artists have put out. But I don't think I addressed your question, actually. I think I just rehashed something. So was there something else?
So it was, I mean, what does the artist owe the music industry? Anything?
For sure they do. I think so. I mean, I feel like I personally take a balanced perspective on this, in that, I mean, look at it, and I'll go back even to your Rock is Dead thing, because Gene Simmons from Kiss famously said rock was dead 15 years ago, 20 years ago, I don't know. And part of that was, maybe not just part of it, all of it had to do with the turmoil that was happening in the recording industry at the time. He was an old school rock guy.
Yep.
He benefited from the makeup. He benefited from the promotion machine. He benefited from the marketing. He benefited from all that stuff, his associations with the album, the labels, and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So he was entrenched in that and used it to his advantage. And when that started to crumble with music downloading and streaming and people starting to be able to make their own music in their basements, he lost that support system. And so I think that's what he was really talking about when he was saying rock is dead, is this support system of promotion and marketing and fronting large sums of money to make an album. All that stuff is kind of going away. So I think what it really comes down to is just having a fair contract, where the management, and because you can go way back. I mean, the Beatles and the Rolling Stones were ripped off by, as rich as they are, they would probably be 10 times richer if they hadn't been victims of bad management. So it goes all, I mean, it's so there's a long history of this. The Nirvana, had a small label deal, moved to a large label. I'm not sure if there's, but I think they initially signed for like $4,000 or something like that.
So who pays? So you have a band going into a studio, and you read some of these books or hear some of these stories or read articles about, they were in the studio or they were in a recording space for 6, 8, 9 months.
Right.
I mean, Guns N' Roses took them like a year and a half to record, Chinese Democracy and even listening to the Radiohead story, they were 6 months or something in the studio. Who's paying for that?
Well, that's the thing.
It's an honest question. Is that the studio? Is that the artist?
I think it depends on.
I mean, Radiohead at this point had money.
Right. I think it depends on the contracts that you have. And, when a label signs you, they say, well, we're going to give you this much money as an advance. We're going to provide this much studio time. When money is no longer an issue, then, maybe everybody's got the money. I don't know if I'm going to assume Radiohead did not pay for the studio time, but I don't know the answer to that. The Beatles built the Abbey Road Studios because they wanted their own recording space, and they didn't. So it was a business decision for them. This album was recorded mostly in a house,
a castle.
And
Yeah.
a mansion, I suppose, somewhere in between.
Yeah.
And
it had a name.
It had a name, and
so who's paying
right?
For
so
that?
who rented that out? It could be anybody.
And who's paying? I mean, there's an engineer there that has to be there the whole time.
Right. All those people are being paid
by the band or by the.
I think it depends on the contract. I don't know the details of that. Yeah. I think every contract is different, and I think the more pull you have. Well, so put it this way, and I don't know much about Radiohead's label or how many albums they had already made with them, but if you're somebody that's just coming up and there's a label and you haven't done anything yet, the label maybe signs you, maybe they give you that advance, and that advance goes to recording time. And like you said, paying an engineer, paying all the mix, paying everything. Maybe the label says we'll give you 50 hours of studio time. Maybe that's part of it. So I think, I would say the label tends probably to front all that money, and but someone like Guns N' Roses at the time was probably working with unlimited resources, and at the time the label probably was giving them unlimited resources.
So then back to the question is what obligation does then the artist have?
Well, I think the artist has obligation to do their best work. I mean, the label is obviously. It's a business deal. They're doing this in order to make profit.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't think. So I do think the artist has a responsibility to the label and to the people that are giving them money to produce a quality work. The question is, if you hire an artist, do you say, we believe in you as an artist, I'm going to give you all this money, and you go be an artist and you create something great? Or do you say, as somebody, I'm giving you all this money, I expect to get triple back, and I want the song, we need to have 3 radio songs on this, we need to have a number 1, and we're going to tour, because all that stuff is related to it. So it's really up to the label and who whoever's managing the band to determine how much artistic freedom has this band earned. Yeah. How much capital have they earned both financially and artistically to have the freedom to make the record that they want.
And does the label pay for the tour? Do they dictate how long the tours are?
Right. I mean, they can. Yeah. I mean, it could be a really long discussion, because in the early days of rock, you made money on tour. And so you created an album to support a tour. And then as rock progressed, album sales actually, people made more money selling records than they did touring. So then the tour supported the album. Yeah. And now it's flipped again. There's not a lot of money in recording, and the money's made on the road.
Yeah.
Right? And so, but a label for sure would all wrap into an agreement. Like the label would say, but the label would also, the management team and everything would say, we're going to go on the road for 9 months. We're going to play these places. We're going to do this many shows. So it's all I can tell you is it's a business agreement. It's a true, there is definitely a music business, and it's and the bands are involved. Some bands are better on the business side than others. Some prefer to be artists and bristle at these sort of controls. Other artists are welcome to play right along with it because they know the money's going right in there. If it works well for them.
So there's these stories you hear about bands who get signed by a record label. Mm-hmm. They go into a studio, they record an album. Mm-hmm. It's good, it's great even. They go out on tour for a year supporting it. And while they're on tour, they're writing
all the time.
They're writing the next album, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And then they go into the studio and record the next album, and it's miserable because they're writing these songs on the road when all they're talking about is the misery of the road.
So
there's a lot of misery of the road second albums.
That's true.
So that's
Yeah, I'm not
yeah.
denying that, but
So-
I would also say
yeah.
this album that we're about to talk about was written on the road.
Yeah.
And they were actually on the road for 2 years.
Well, it was Breaking America, right? It was they toured America to every small town in America. I mean, they played El Paso.
Yeah, because
played,
they did a tour and they didn't make a ton of money,
Yeah.
and so they went back out and did it again.
Yeah.
Um,
It was-
So yeah, all I would say is every situation's a little bit different. How good is your lawyer? How good is your manager?
Yeah.
How honest are the people you're dealing
Sure.
with? You know, if it's a fair agreement, then
all right.
then everything, it's all good. But when one side's taking advantage of the other, there's going to be animosity.
Excellent. So let's leave it there, and let's drop the needle on side one.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rock. In the red corner, an album that needs no introduction. Ranked number 42 by Rolling Stone, this double platinum album reached number 1 on the UK charts in 1997. Performed by Radiohead, this art rock masterpiece is considered by many to be the greatest album of the 90s. This is OK Computer! And in the blue corner, two fat guys. This is two fat guys and an album.
Radiohead, man.
Yeah. Some people think they made the best album in music history.
Well, it's interesting because I absolutely love this album.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I love the band. And rumor has it that they're going to be on tour again soon.
I did hear that.
They're starting to put stuff together.
Right. They were like the tricklings of, again, management things, like business deals starting to happen.
Right.
And word got out that there's these business things happening that usually lead to a tour.
But my impression just from knowing you over the years is that you're not a huge fan of Radiohead or this kind of music.
Yeah, I think you're jumping the gun on that a little bit. I mean, I don't know if you want me to reveal right away on this, but but I'm going to go with, I think we've talked about more the importance of this album, where does it rank type of a thing. I like Radiohead. I like this kind of music. I like their previous songs. I like their Creep and their other like radio type songs, and I like music that is adventurous, and I like music that breaks through into new areas. So I do not dislike Radiohead. I like Radiohead.
So you brought up Creep already.
Yes.
And so Creep was a huge hit for them.
Right.
And I think gave them the ability to do stuff like this. More of an art album.
Well, right.
So
almost a reverse sellout. Like this is what I call a reverse sellout. That they had so much success into what we talked about earlier. It gave them the freedom to do things, and I'm not going to say that the studio trusted them. I think the studio was freaked out by the whole thing.
Yeah.
And they had initially, the studio was expecting 2 million in sales, and when they heard the album, they were like, "That's not going to happen."
Yeah.
So I think they reduced their estimate to like 500,000 or something.
Right. So, this is an interesting era. Just kind of set this up so we all are on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
So this is 1997.
Correct.
So they were working on the album in '96.
Mm-hmm.
They actually, so this is pre-Napster, right? So
Okay.
This is pre where you play a song live and it suddenly shows up on.
Right. Well, not just well, that's like say YouTube or something where somebody's recording it and just posts it right away.
So right,
Napster was like the file sharing.
Right. No. So they were able to go out and work. An artist was able to go work on songs live and at shows.
Yeah,
and they did.
Right.
So they were.
Some of these songs were not made with the intention of being on this album. Is that what you're saying?
No, but they were working on songs that eventually became this album.
Yes.
And one of the big fans. So this is their third album.
Right.
And one of the big fans of their second album was Alanis Morissette.
Yes.
And so she had them tour.
Right.
They were the opening act for her on the Jagged Little Pill tour, which was huge.
Yeah.
And they jokingly talk about the fact that they were playing these songs. They were just freaking out a bunch of 13-year-old
and nobody
girls.
was right.
Right.
No, it maybe was not the best choice of opening act.
But they had the freedom of just working these songs out.
Yeah.
And they actually had one that the audience would dance to.
Okay.
And so they scrapped it.
Because it was, they're like, no, we're not
That's a
doing that
radio
song.
hit.
Yeah, okay.
Right. Yeah.
I did not know
so,
that.
Yeah,
makes sense.
So it's kind of a cool side story. This is so a British band again.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about Oasis.
Yep.
A couple shows ago.
Right. If you
Oasis.
say so.
Oh, yeah. Time, right? Time.
Yeah.
Oasis famously hated them, and they hated Oasis.
Well, I think
And they didn't like Britpop.
right. This is one of the things. Like, if I was to, without tipping my hand or anything, but one of the things that makes this album what it is that it's a reversal of Britpop. It's a repudiation of Britpop.
So Radiohead thought Britpop was too backwards looking. It was too, trying to be. Oasis was very. We talked about it.
Yeah,
Oasis
like the
was
Beatles.
famously trying to be the Beatles,
Right.
And Radiohead was trying to move music forward.
Right.
Right,
Well,
so
I
that
think,
was their
that's
argument.
fair. I mean, I think Oasis really is a pop band at heart, and so I think.
Yeah.
So, like, if I could see Radiohead believing themselves to be artists and just be appalled that.
So you have Oasis and Blur fighting.
Yes.
And then Radiohead hating both of them.
So I don't know if you know this about Oasis, but they're kind of like jerks.
You're right. They even hate themselves.
They hate themselves.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much
Each
that
other,
plays into it.
Yeah.
But when you tell me a band has a feud with Oasis, I'm like, probably like, who
Right.
doesn't?
So we haven't even started talking about the band yet, but the
Yeah.
other contemporaries of them
Mm-hmm.
would have been the Manchester stuff like Stone Roses
Okay.
and Happy Mondays.
Mm-hmm.
But neither of them really tried to make it in America, break America, so to speak.
Right.
When Radiohead did an extensive year-plus long tour of
Yes.
America to organically kind of grow their sound,
Right.
grow their bass, and sort of become just a powerhouse live band.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean they did the work, so to speak.
Sure. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the band members.
Yeah. Before I'm going to tell you about the band members in a second.
Sure.
But since you brought up Britpop and the contemporaries, let's not forget about grunge.
Sure. On our side of the pond,
yeah,
this would have been
because
running,
right,
concurrent with grunge, right?
Right. And the reason I think why Creep was exploded in the way that it did is it was essentially a grunge
Yeah,
song.
that's actually very fair.
Yeah. And then they turned on themselves. They became anti themselves when they
Well, they repeatedly do that. I mean,
right.
bands started copying the OK Computer sound,
And then
so
they changed.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
then they
so
changed
that's
it all
so
over
in
again.
that regard probably we talk about art rock and art music, and I dropped Bruce Hornsby on you, which I'm going to tell you, I'm just going to encourage you to go back and listen to that.
Mm-hmm.
But not the song I sent you, I guess, but maybe start at the beginning.
That's horrible.
But when you're making what's art music, you probably the idea is you're not going to make a lot of money. Like you're willing to do something that you believe in. And without regard for is this going to be popular or not.
So they always played for themselves.
I think so.
I mean, they even talked about it.
Yeah.
They were playing music without even audiences. They were
Right.
playing for themselves.
Right. So I think when you just the idea of what is art rock and all that. I think art rock and art anything means you're doing it for the benefit of that and for no other external reason really. That's one of my thoughts on what art is.
Fair, but then so you then have these arguments about not liking when your music gets put into a genre or a bucket or a category, and as an artist, if I'm so I was more of
An artiste.
artiste.
Yeah.
I wasn't a music guy, but I was an art
Visual
guy.
art. Yeah.
And if I'm doing that, I am I'm happy to let people interpret it. You know,
I
and
think
put it in any box they want to put it in.
Just give me $10.
Right. But well, yeah. But
No,
but you know, I mean,
well,
you make art so people see different things in it, so people feel different things from it.
I think that's legitimate, and I think that's.
So I don't know why that doesn't hold true with music. This would be my inductive
It does
reasoning.
hold true with music. It does hold true with music.
Yeah.
But it's a whole nother thing. I'm not dismissing that at all. I think that's definitely part of the equation.
All right. How about the band?
Okay, Radiohead.
Yes.
Tom York, the vocalist, amazing vocalist, unworldly voice.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. Also,
right there with you.
Also plays guitar and keyboards. Kind of makes me, like, if I have to have a comp, I'm going to go with Roy Orbison a little bit. But it's just there, you know. I'm not saying they're identical twins or anything.
Is it now what he sings as a? I mean, he's not a
like his
voice
type.
tone.
Yeah. Well, that's a really good question. I suppose from a contratenor or something like that, or because male voices are either tenor, baritone, bass. Okay, bass being the lowest.
If you're being put into a choir,
right?
Yeah,
And female voices are soprano, alto. So even though he has this immense range, you wouldn't call him an alto, even though he can sing into that range. So he has he's got an incredible range. Right. Colin Greenwood on bass.
Mm-hmm.
So here's a thing. Don't look at your paper. Can you name the members of Radiohead? I know you're giving this to me, but one of your things is, we used to always be able to name all the people on the album, and I love Radiohead, and I'm a music guy. So don't look at your paper.
No, and I spent the whole week kind of listening to
and
this.
You still can't. Yeah.
But what I do know is they've been together.
No, it's a legit band. It's not
unlike some of the other bands we talk about over the years.
It's not Tom York and whoever he's farmed out. It's
mountaingoats.
Right. Although the mountaingoats had a steady lineup for quite some time.
Greenwood,
They're going to come.
I was going to say Colin Greenwood.
Colin Green, sure you were, on bass. Who's amazing.
So there's two Greenwoods.
There are.
They're
His
brothers.
brother Johnny Greenwood on guitar, who's amazing. And he's actually, Rolling Stone has found it in their infinite wisdom to put him at 48. So I appreciate, the effort there. Ed O'Brien.
So wasn't he like really young when this band formed?
Yeah.
He was the
Was he
so
the
they
baby
were all
of
like
the band?
17, 18, 19-year-old guys, and he was the younger brother, so he was like 15 or something.
Yeah, that's
when
fair.
He was in the band. I think that's the story I hear.
Yeah.
So that's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Philip Selway, the drummer. Again, guys that maybe aren't on your list of first. Like Philip Selway's not in. Doesn't have a ranking to my knowledge. Colin Greenwood does not have a ranking to my knowledge. The reason why Radiohead even gets a smidgen of my attention is that the bass and the bass and the drums are just impeccable. The grooves that they provide are to my otherworldly. There are very few people in my that I know of that are just this connected and this creative. I think they're all should be Hall of Famers. And then York, of course, his voice, as I said. The producer, by the way, Nigel Godrich. We have to mention him because he's been called the George Martin of Radiohead. And he's had as much a voice in the creation of this album as they did. And a
lot of other British music.
Oh yeah. No, he's the real deal. But in terms of specifically this album, his voice, he was another voice in the room and a very important one.
He's actually almost built on the. If you look on Wikipedia, he's
right there
line.
with the band.
Yeah,
he's like the band. He's like the fifth Beatle or the seventh Radiohead member or whatever.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's a Hall of Fame band.
Yeah. No, it's yeah.
So I did watch you. Well, you did bring up like the video and everything. There is a 1997 concert video of them on YouTube that I watched, and I really enjoyed their live presentation. It's the full album. They perform OK Computer live in 1997,
very cool.
and it's a great. If you like the album, you'll love this video. And it doesn't have. It still has all the great playing and musicianship. Like to see it perform live. Gives you an idea of how skilled these guys are. Actually, it doesn't have some of the beeps and boops that because it just doesn't have all that production. But the live performance is great, and actually gives the album to me and the band to me even a little more credibility. Because, like you said, they are a killer live band.
Yeah. So in the introduction to this show, I called them an atmospheric alt rock band.
Sure.
So you talk about bass and guitar, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of like synths in there, right? Or
there's synth. There's a lot of pedal work. So my next question to you is: are they a shoegazer band?
Well, they're definitely brushing up against that.
Yeah.
In some of their songs, it's an interesting. This whole album's interesting because they kind of hit a bunch of different genres that they would hate. I mean, if you talk to them, because there's. I mean, like Paranoid Android, 6-minute song, is a progressive rock song.
It's definitely a progressive rock song.
And they hate that. They hate prog rock.
But this is my. But you're arguing my point for me. Actually, they weren't. They're just arguing my point. They don't care about like all these genres are nonsense.
No, they actually push back because they hate prog rock. Okay. They're not sure why they hate prog rock.
No, and I was going to ask you. I actually have it highlighted here. It's prog rock. Whether they like it or not.
It is. Well, and Tom said that it's a combination of Bohemian Rhapsody,
Happiness is
a Warm Gun by the Beatles.
Right.
But I mean,
Bohemian Rhapsody could be the proggiest of all. I mean, So I'm not sure how he,
I don't know. I just think the term just is like a no for them. But
right.
I mean, if there's a prog rock song written in the 90s, this is it.
For sure, it is. I agree. I completely agree.
The other, so digging into the album a little bit, we can talk about like radio hits or whatever. But the best description I heard of one of their songs when I was doing the research was somebody described Subterranean Homesick Alien as
inspired by Miles Davis.
Yeah.
Right.
But it described it as the extraterrestrial version of Deacon Blues. So here,
all right.
So instead of a guy,
it made me laugh.
So instead of a guy, so think about it. Instead of a guy trying to escape the city to become a jazz musician,
right.
It's somebody hoping to be abducted by aliens,
right?
So it was
to live a more interesting life or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, you can connect those dots. Right. That's fine.
Yeah. But there is a lot of. So I've heard the Miles Davis thing.
Yeah. Psychedelic jazz, if you like. It's really considered a jazz fusion album. But yeah, go on.
Do they have a trumpet?
Have you listened to Bitches Brew?
Well, what's good? Well,
okay. So if you listen,
so it's like the weird cousin of it, but I don't think.
No, you could put them side by side.
All right.
I mean, forget the trumpet part. The music, the atmosphere. It's a very atmospheric album. It's a very electronic album. And you could literally put this song side by side with certain tracks of that album.
Okay.
And it would be, you wouldn't know what you were listening to. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference between one or the other. So there's a definite connection between those songs.
I think LR Media should make that as a short.
Yeah,
right
if
there.
you could do that. I mean, I could point you in the right direction. I could tell you the exact song. Yeah, and I think it was an inspiration as well. I don't think it's by accident. I think they, in the same way that they draw inspiration from Happiness is a Worn Gum and Bohemian Rhapsody, I think they drew inspiration from Miles Davis intentionally.
And I have to say, their least favorite song on the album, and they all kind of would pick Electioneering.
It's my least favorite song.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. I agree.
I find that interesting. All right. Well, and I love Subterranean.
And it's got, it's got
Homesick
a lot of
Alien.
political, like the message of it
yeah.
and the lyrics of it, I get, but the song itself is.
So it's very much. I mean, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that the album is very much. I mean, I think one of our sponsors would really love the topics of this album because it's kind of that anti-commercialism, capitalism.
Oh, for sure.
You know, the social alienation kind of thing.
Exactly.
You know,
and again, it's considering it was written in 1997 and is as relevant now, maybe even more relevant today than it was then, and also sad that this really great album hasn't solved the world's issues.
Yeah.
The by the way, the version that you want to listen to is OK Not OK 27 remaster.
All right.
It's got
there's a pro tip, huh?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the one that, it's again been remastered and updated, so it has the sound is even improved over 1997. It's got bonus tracks and unreleased B-sides and things like that.
I will say of all these songs, Karma Police has long been in my rotation on my playlist and is not going anywhere.
It's a great song. I love this song. I almost feel afraid to say it's a great song because it's sort of the radio song.
It's definitely my favorite.
But it was a UK 8, a US 14. There's 2 Rolling Stones top 500 albums on this song. Songs on this album. Yeah. Paranoid Android and Karma Police. So
Paranoid Android, I believe, was their first. They released it as a single.
I think you're right. But
it's a 6-minute song.
Well, again, anti-commercial, and they cut it down from, I think, 14 minutes. I think it was a 14-minute song. I think they cut it down, and they even said they were being silly, like they were taking out all kinds of weird instruments and making weird sounds, and just kind of being silly about it, and then realized how silly it was, and then cut it down to whatever it was, 6 minutes. It's my favorite song on the album, and it's my favorite. Radiohead song all together.
That's awesome.
It's an incredible song. As I said, the bass and the drums, the interaction of it, it's incredible. Paranoid Android, also inspired by Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Well, I was just about to get there. So I used the quote in the intro.
Yes, you did.
And that's where they actually get the title of the song from.
Yes.
Or title of the album from.
Computer, right.
So it's from...
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
But it's actually from the 1978 radio series that they were listening to on the bus.
Okay.
As they were touring.
Again, written on a bus.
So the actual line of the character from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is... okay, computer, I want full manual control now. Mm-hmm. And so the point there is that they took control. They saved themselves. The characters in the book saved themselves by taking control back from the computer and doing it themselves.
Yeah.
So humanity saving itself by rejecting the computer.
Sure.
Okay, computer. It's kind of...
it's really cool.
Yeah,
it also, knowing that, and I didn't know that previously, makes me understand a bit more the I don't know if tongue-in-cheek is the right word to describe this album. It's very moody and very dark, and I don't know if they intended it to be that moody and dark, because there's a definite there's a dark humor, I guess, is the best way to describe it to this album.
Well, if so much of this kind of has been tied to, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is... There's no other way to describe that book, and it's one of my favorite books.
It's a terrific book.
It's silly.
The movie's terrible, by the way.
Right. But it's a silly, funny book.
Right.
And Radiohead is in no way a silly... I mean, they don't come off as silly, funny guys at all. I mean, it's just... So, if anything, from shoegazer kind of stuff, it's this serious...
Yeah.
The shoegazer grunge kind of aspect where it's all anger and seriousness and scowls and they don't look happy playing for you at all. So there's a lot of that, and then it comes from this silly book.
Yeah, I think there's a conscious effort to make it a little lighter.
Absolutely. Okay, so I think we.
Do you know Fitter Happier, the voice? That's the robot voice.
Yeah.
Do you know what that robot voice is?
No.
Fred, that's a text-to-voice from Apple Macintosh back in the day. It's literally a voice on the computer that they had read it. Tom York calls it the most upsetting thing I've ever written. He disturbed himself by writing that. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah. All right. I think we're going to have to leave this here.
But we have forever here.
Yeah, exactly. This is a long one. But we do, have to ask the question of the Maestro of music. Is this a landmark album? Is it a perfect album?
Okay, it's definitely has to be a landmark album.
No argument from me.
And, I still haven't completely revealed my personal thoughts on it, but I'll save that for the ranking, I suppose.
Okay.
But there's no way it could not make this a landmark album. It did win a Grammy. It did shift from Britpop and grunge. It created a new path. And I know we're at the end of the segment, so you can't address your thing about ending alt rock. What did you say?
No, I said this was the last masterpiece piece of the alt rock era.
It's okay because in a way I would say it's the first masterpiece because it broke away from pop and it broke away from grunge and created a new direction. But it's considered by many to be the best album of the 90s. It's considered by some to be the best album ever written. It's in the U.S. Library of Congress National Recording Registry.
Yeah.
It's only. Do you know how many units this sold without looking at your paper?
I don't even have that written
It's
down.
only a double platinum album.
Really?
Yeah. And double platinum's pretty good. I'm not knocking it, but it's surprisingly not our Oasis I think was 10 times platinum or something like that. So but it was a UK one. It was 21 in the United States. So for sure a landmark album.
But by the way,
Yeah.
one more tidbit is I was in Barnes and Noble the other day. I sent you the picture. And they actually had the vinyl.
Oh, I didn't know you were in Barnes and Noble.
I was in Barnes and Noble, and the vinyl was there. So I picked it up, and it was $42.99.
So you got 3 of them?
I guess I clearly haven't bought vinyl in a while because I was thinking it should be like $7.99 or something.
Right. Well, like I said, maybe you could. I did text you back that you might find it in the cutout bin for $2.99.
Right.
So yeah.
So I was a little shocked on the price. A little out of touch because I'm thinking of rebuilding the stereo in here for us. So
well, when the podcast hits big, I'm sure you'll be able to buy that album.
I got a line on a pair of speakers.
Oh, okay, good.
You'll be impressed.
All right.
All right. So we're in agreement. It's a landmark album.
Yeah.
Is it a perfect album?
It's not. I don't have it as a perfect album. Okay,
I would not change a song, but go on.
Okay, I guess I'm gonna give away a little bit of my ranking. There is no album that I have tried harder to like.
That is awesome.
I have listened to this album not just this week, but since 1997 when it came out, and it was declared one of the best albums ever made. I have listened to this album over and over. I've tried to decide, figure out what am I missing. Even this week, I'm listening to the album, and I get about halfway through, and I'm struggling. Really struggling to make it all the way
up
through
there with
the
Antlers.
Well, Antlers for a different reason. Okay, Antlers was terrific. I just didn't have the emotional currency to deal with that. This completely different. This I just literally get to a certain part of the album, and I'm like, I want it to stop. I want it to, please make it stop. Now, I've progressed from that in the last couple days because of looking a bit deeper into it and all that. But I'll just say no, not a perfect album.
Fair enough,
I'm not a big fan of Subterranean Homesick Alien.
Oh my
I
God,
already
that's awesome.
don't really like Electioneering.
Love it.
Climbing Up the Walls is fine. There's some songs, but maybe it's just too same, too matchy for me.
Okay. His voice isn't.
It has everything. it's like looking at a like a perfect cake in a bakery window. And like the cake looks amazing. It's frosted. It has it's got the sprinkles on the side. It's got everything you want in a cake. And then you taste it and it's like,
they left out the baking soda?
I don't know what it is.
All right.
But
yeah.
Having said that, I like the album. I've got 1, 2, 3 favorites that are actually get regular rotation for me. 1, 2, 3, 4 songs that 5, 6. I mean, I like probably 8 out of the 12 songs on the album. Just not a perfect album. But it does, to your point, I think it exists very well as an album. I think it should be enjoyed as an album. And I encourage the live concert on YouTube.
Nice. All right. We really have to leave it there. So
yeah, for sure.
Let's flip to our live read from our sponsor.
One of these days I'll have this in the correct
for the
order.
show, he was very proud of that he had this all ready to go.
Well, things just get thrown all over the... Once the whatever... Two Fat Guys in an Album is sponsored by Deeper Connections Counseling, helping people connect to themselves, the people they love, and the world around them through individual and couples therapy for Illinois residents both in person and online. More information at dcctherapy.com.
Outstanding. We always appreciate our sponsor there. And, I always have to voice a little bit of support for those who, are struggling either in relationships or with some issues, and that there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. Go talk to somebody. These are wonderful people to do it. They can help you out. You're worth it. Your relationships are worth it. People around you are worth it. Don't be afraid to reach out and get help if you need it. Oh. With that, we got a couple more sponsors, and you have a big light in your face.
Do I?
Hey, Two Fat Guys and an Album fans. This is Diane Blackburn, realtor with Baird & Warner and proud sponsor of this podcast. I pride myself in being committed to serve as a trusted real estate advisor for all my clients. Whether you're looking to sell, buy, rent, or lease, feel free to reach out and let's chat about how we can work together to make it happen. If you're watching, scan the QR code for my website or give me a call at 630-638-1999. See you on the flip side.
Are you someone who needs help with their Instagram or TikTok? Well, you're in luck. LR Media is here to help. Email me at laurarose2003@aol.com to get started. Let's make your social media shine.
So welcome to side 2 of the show this week. So this is where we talk about kind of some of the things that we're listening to, some of the things that are going on in music, maybe new music that's coming out or shows coming down. I don't. You got anything? I've been on the weirdest like wormhole kind of thing. So
it's so unlike you. I have a couple concert things, and I have a video, like a computer YouTube-y thing. So I'll start. I'll start with it. Yeah. So. I honestly don't know if I've ever brought this up. It's been sitting on my list for 13 shows. So if I've already used it on show 2, but nobody watched that show anyways. Phil Collins, drummer first, is a 2-hour interview done on Drumeo, which is a YouTube channel. Yeah. We've mentioned it before, I think, on the moving picture show.
Right.
Talking about drummers. So this is a very drum-centric YouTube channel, and they had a full 2-hour interview with Phil Collins, just discussing his entire career, all the way back to the early days of Genesis. They've got great video, and again, the artist full cooperation on this, and takes it all the way through the Genesis years and the his other side projects.
How old is this?
It's new. It's probably I would say it's within 4 months.
So the show is 4 months, but when was I'd only say that because I mean Seeing pictures of him, and he's
he's
much struggling.
He's very fragile.
Yeah.
No, it's recent.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
No, all the the interviews and stuff itself has probably been done in the last year, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah. Yes.
It's a very recent interview encompassing his full career, essentially up to now, as he's retired now.
Right.
His career is pretty much over. And they even went they have his original equipment. They went so far as to get some of his original drum equipment out. And if you're a drummer, first of all, you're going to find it super interesting. But I'm not a drummer. I find it super interesting. So
where do you stand on Phil Collins?
In terms of, I'm okay with Phil Collins.
Because you're very much a Genesis of Peter
I'm a
Gabriel.
Peter Gabriel. Yeah, I'm more.
So he was Peter Gabriel's drummer.
Yeah, and actually the name again is Phil Collins, drummer first. And what that references is he even to this day he considers himself not a singer who plays drums. He's always considered himself a drummer who happens to sing. And obviously it was a big deal for him to get out from behind the drum set and to front the band. And in this documentary, they actually talk about it quite a bit and what that was like for him. So I'm not angry. I know you were very angry at Sting for breaking up the Police, and you might want to seek some help for that. I did not carry the same. I don't dislike Phil Collins. He did not break up Genesis. First of all, Peter Gabriel kind of left on his own. Phil Collins hung back. They did some really great things after Peter Gabriel left.
Yeah.
He went on even his first couple solo albums. I kind of liked quite a bit. I've seen him live both with Genesis and as a solo artist multiple times. So once he got to Abacab and things like that, he just, how much money do you actually need? But I think for him, in his defense, I really think it was an artistic decision. He was making music he wanted to make. It wasn't a sellout in the sense of he didn't change styles because he thought it'd be more popular. It was quite the opposite. I think he also felt like he was taking a chance with this, and he was probably just as surprised as everybody else that it took off in the way that it did.
Yeah. So, so my feelings are, I came to Genesis through Trick of the Tail, which I thought was just, it's an album we should do sometime.
Oh, for sure we will. I love that album.
But I didn't go backwards into the Peter Gabriel stuff as much until you and I became friends.
Okay.
So I was in high school
at
that point.
And then it was something completely
different.
It
was totally different. It was cool and all that, and I'm on board with you. But I had always this place in my heart for the genesis of Phil Collins.
Okay.
Which is where I first encountered him.
Yeah.
And then the post, so you have you kind of have the Peter Gabriel genesis, then you have the Phil Collins genesis pre-Abacab.
Pre-Abacab, right. And then you have
the post.
Kind of, yeah.
And my wife and I have gone to see them.
Yeah, and my wife and I also. It was one of the bands that we enjoyed together.
I don't even know what the name of the album was.
It was probably
We Can't Dance or.
Oh, okay. Like the one that you went to with your wife?
Right.
Okay.
And her and I love, listen to that together, so that has a place in my heart.
Right. It was the first.
I know it's a long, long way from the Peter Gabriel genesis.
It is. No, the first real arena concert I went to was Genesis. And it was and then there were 3 tour, I believe.
Sure. Yeah.
And that was with my future wife.
Yeah.
So no, I like Wind in the I like Wind in the Wuthering, the one that you said 30 seconds ago.
Trick of the Tail.
Trick of the Tail.
Yeah.
And then there were 3.
Those
all those albums.
Yeah, those are great.
I like.
Yeah.
Quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then.
So I can compartmentalize him.
Okay.
Into 3 or 4 different probably 4.
Whereas Sting has become.
the album
persona
just
non grata.
well, at no point did he decide. Phil Collins decide to play jazz to prove he was a real musician.
He actually
All right,
kind
move
of
on.
did.
So you know,
you
so I
heard
can
of Brand
compartmentalize. I can compartmentalize him in kind of the
I know.
four buckets.
So Phil Collins fits into your bucket system better than Sting does.
So
By the way, can I just say I'm going to do this again because it didn't seem to take the first time. I'm going to take a sip from my cup, tap it on the table, and declare the Dream of the Blue Turtles is not jazz.
So I saw
The Maestro has spoken. Go ahead.
I've seen Sting. I just don't think Dream of the Blue Turtles is by any way his best album.
And that's
I think
fine.
There's
You are
better
entitled.
albums.
I have no problem with that.
Better albums in his solo portfolio than that one.
I can
Less
accept
pretentious.
that. I can accept that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
Did you know the Mountain Goats are touring? They've announced a tour on the East Coast. They haven't done local dates yet.
Well, Chicago area dates. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I did see that, and I did
you
scroll
see-
through them to see if there was anything, if they were anywhere close.
Not
They
yet.
were
They
not,
aren't.
yeah,
They're all on the East
yeah.
Coast. Did
Right.
you notice who they were touring with?
Maybe.
Guster.
Yes.
How? Why?
Well, why not?
And again, for people like we are both huge Mountain Goats fans,
Huge.
massive Mountain Goats fans. How they have not gotten attention on this show more than they have yet is beyond me. But they will soon, I think. Eventually, we're gonna have to
Figure out which side of the show you put them in.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. So we love the Mountain Goats. Guster is a lovely pop band that's nothing like the Mountain Goats.
Nothing. No.
So it's a strange pairing. Anyways, so they've announced they've announced some tour dates, but none in the Midwest yet.
Yeah, I'll be looking forward to them coming back to town.
Yeah. And then I'm just gonna throw in another plug for Buddyguy's Damn Right Encore tour. We saw the Damn Right tour, which was his last and final tour. And you never know because he's like 88 years
Right.
old. Like I believed with all my heart that this was his last tour. And then he announced the Damn Right Encore tour. But he's a Hall of Fame guitarist. Rolling Stone has him at 27. He is getting up in dates. He's playing mostly Midwest and Eastern shows. He's going to be at Rialto Square in Joliet. He's going to be at the Coronado at Rockford. Both lovely venues. Classic type of movie theater places. And if you have not seen Buddy Guy, I would jump on the Damn Right Encore tour when he comes to your town.
Because that circle in the drain there, pretty much, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. I don't have nearly that much, but I got sucked in one of those kind of Wikipedia wormholes that grew into something of a full week obsession that I'm not proud of.
Okay.
I shared it with you, and you rolled your eyes out loud at me. But there's a very old '60s song.
Well, that's the thing. It's from 1967, I believe.
Yeah.
And you sent it to me. So you texted me. I mean, just, background on the show. How this,
Right.
this is letting you behind the wall here a little bit, into the meeting rooms and all that. You send me a song to listen to, and I'm excited. I'm like, oh, I've got a new song to listen to. We're probably going to talk about on the show. And you played this song, and it's a song from Go ahead. Tell me the name of the song.
It's Incense and Peppermint by the
Right.
Strawberry Alarm Clock.
Yeah. And I'm like, is this a cover? Like, what? Like,
No,
so I put
this-
it on, and I'm like, no, this is the song.
Song. Right.
So I was kind of surprised that it.
But it's yeah, I'm like, I hadn't
it's a
thought
great song. I don't dislike the song at all.
So it was like a number one
okay.
hit.
You're the one that went down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, right.
You run
So
with it.
Billboard number one song.
Yeah. No, it's a great song. I like the song. It's just the context of it was shocking to me. But go ahead.
So so I'm like, oh, this is a cool song. I hadn't thought about this song in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, I wonder if they did anything else.
Kind of a one-hit wonder.
Well, it's way beyond one-hit wonder because it wasn't even the band's name. They were called The Sixpence, so Thee Sixpence.
Okay. Is this a corporate creation? Is this...
Sort of. They had to come up with a new name because that was too close to release this.
Uh-huh.
They had to come up with a different name because it was the Thee Sixpence was too close to another band name.
Okay.
So to get this out, and this was a B-side of a song they were trying to release. They needed a song for the B-side, so they had this sort of mix, and they put together, the rest of the song, and then none of the actual band could sing it. So the studio engineer had a 16-year-old guitar player, kind of that he was promoting.
Okay.
And so the person singing this song on this number one hit for a band that didn't really exist because they came up with this other name so they could release it, Strawberry Alarm Clock,
Right.
was never in the band even.
It's quite a...
His only interaction with this band was recording the vocals for this song.
And then never again.
Never again.
Did they tour? Did this band even
No.
tour? Or was it just it's just a studio creation?
Yes.
This song is a complete studio creation. Yeah. And the band itself, a complete studio creation.
Yeah, I mean, they were trying to be a band, The Sixpence,
Okay.
but they
Well,
weren't. It was just this weird
The
one-hit wonder because it wasn't really a band.
Right.
It wasn't their name. The singer wasn't a member of the band.
Funny how things work out.
And boom, you have a number one hit
It's a good
off
song.
of a B-side.
Yeah. It's a funny business.
It is. It is. So I just thought that was the weirdest kind of, who are these guys? And they're nobody because it's not even their band.
Quite a collection
So,
of
yeah.
circumstances.
All right. So that's all I have. The only other note I have written is July 17th.
And that is because...
I have no idea.
Is that the Jack White show we're not going to?
No, it's not the Jack White song. Oh, it's Father John Misty.
Oh, okay.
It's coming to the Salt Shed.
With
and,
Lucinda Williams, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, I mean, that's
And
quite a 1-2 punch.
so I wrote that down so I'd remember to put that on my calendar because we're going to go see him.
Perfect.
All right. With that, let's listen to another sponsor as we change LPs and put on side 3.
This episode of Two Fat Guys in an Album is brought to you by Smidge Films. If you're looking to bring your ideas to life with some cool cinematic work, Smidge Films has you covered. From brand stories to promos, we'll help you tell your story in a way that really sticks. Check us out and see what we can do for you.
So on side 3 here, this is our Beyond Classic Rock segment where we it's our search for kind of the modern classics, and I don't exactly know which if this fits into the modern classics.
Can I pull a blast from the past here and call it a hidden gem?
All right, yeah, let's go.
Can we sneak that back into the nomenclature?
Maybe, because it's kind of a contemporary with Radiohead.
Right, it is.
Right, so it's a contemporary album with
it's a 2001 album.
Yeah, with the kind of what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So the artist is Sparklehorse,
Yes.
and the album is It's a Wonderful Life. And Sparklehorse is kind of the work of
Mark Linkous.
yeah. So
Yeah, kind of a one-man band, a one-man band sort of a situation.
Well, I think he wrote and recorded the first couple albums himself. He had a band that backed him up.
Right, but when you say it's like yes, there's a band name,
Yeah,
but
so
it's a guy.
It's the Sparklehorse is the mountaingoats of alt rock.
I guess so.
Yeah,
Right.
If the mountaingoats are kind of the goth version, this is the art rock version.
Okay.
And he came up with Sparklehorse because it sounded like could be kind of a funky name for a motorcycle.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I see that.
So tell me a little bit about him.
Well, again, Sparklehorse is essentially one person surrounding himself by various musicians. His name's Mark Linkous. He did, in fact, open for Radiohead in 1966.
No,
Or 1996,
96,
correct, yep. And interesting, this is like the multiple times that we have picked like parallel albums
Yeah.
almost by accident. Like I did not know like consciously this connection when we picked the album.
So behind the curtain, one of us picks the feature album,
Right.
and then the other one will pick the alternative. Which
yes. And this turned out to be more closely related than I realized. While touring with Radiohead, he nearly OD'd, and
So that's a horrific story.
yes, yeah, he was passed out for
14 hours
Yeah,
or
14
something?
hours, and his weight had fallen on his legs, and I believe it
He
cut off
bent
the
backwards,
circulation
yeah.
on his legs, and never fully recovered. I think there was a great deal of
He's in a wheelchair for 6 months or
yeah,
something.
yeah. So yeah, he's had a history of drug use and things like that. Although when he recorded this particular album, my understanding is he was clean.
Yeah.
So for whatever that's worth,
So this, I think, is his third album. I could be wrong.
I believe you're right.
And so all the other albums were kind of recorded in a room in his farmhouse in Virginia somewhere,
Right.
maybe
Which does that
by
qual-
himself.
Yeah. Which does that make it lo-fi? I mean, it's one of the definitions of lo-fi.
Yeah.
The first two albums.
Right. And so this album was recorded in a studio with a band, kind of.
Right, and I
Other
think
artists.
right, and it's at some point he was willing to rely on others,
Yeah,
to take the advice of engineers and producers and stuff like that.
Mountain Goats, too. I mean, that's kind of a great parallel with them,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
'Cause he
was pretty much working by himself and advanced in that way. So, yeah, he definitely and the interesting thing about this guy, and I'm gonna jump to the end here really quick. I mean, he did commit suicide.
He did.
And he did have a in some ways I think a difficult life, dealing with various issues. But on the other hand, he seemed like the kind of guy that everyone liked. He was kind of super connected in the music world.
Yep.
He did he produced other musicians quite a bit. When he passed away, there was a pretty major tribute album for him that had lots of big stars on it. So I just feel like he's just I don't know that much about him really, but the impression was that he was really engaged in the art world and in the music world. And
very well respected among musicians.
Yes.
I mean, kind of like where Radiohead asked him to tour with them.
Well, exactly.
He was very much, and he was greatly affected by the death of another artist.
Yes.
Vic Chestnut.
Yes.
Who was another very well respected musician in the musician circles, the singer songwriter kind of circles.
Right.
And Vic Chestnut was in a wheelchair himself from a car accident when he was 18. Also under the influence, kind of caused that accident. But was a paraplegic, could play a few chords on a guitar and became kind of a singer songwriter.
Yeah.
And highly respected. And when he died,
Same thing.
months before, Mark committed suicide.
Right.
So it was kind of a whole, again, don't be afraid to find somebody to talk to if
For
you're
sure.
having issues.
Absolutely. Yeah. I hate to.
Suicide is
It's not a good thing.
no.
So,
Unfortunately, it's really common here in the music industry.
it is.
Yeah.
So this was a major label debut, as you said. So he actually this is EMI Capital, so it's not an indie album at all. He did get backing, and did have this collaboration. The list of people that are performing on this, Nina Persson from the Cardigans, Tom Waits, pjharvey, And then I bumped into the Flaming Lips, and then I couldn't double verify it, so I'm not positive. But there's definitely a Flaming Lips vibe to this. Yeah. There's definitely a Flaming Lips sound to it. The album itself, it has a great vibe. I mean, it's very poetic. It's got a lot of lyric imagery. To me, it's a lot of the lyrics are sort of surreal and dreamy. I don't think you want to think too hard about the meanings of the songs. They do have like
a lot of different musical influences here.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I mean, you see some, there's art rock, there's indie rock, there's shoegazer, there's chamber pop. Dare I say?
You dare say it?
Dare say it? A little bit of chamber music.
It's definitely lo-fi.
You brought up Tom Waits.
Yeah, Tom Waits. Okay, I'm pretty sure I know where you're going. So
that song is really out of place on this album.
Well, it's super out of place, and I was going to say this probably disqualifies it as a flying album because you have 7 songs that are really, again, sort of the psychedelic dream pop, gentle songs.
Right. And
then Dog Door comes on,
flying out of your chair,
and it's just. It's actually a pretty cool song. I don't dislike the song, but it couldn't be more out of place on this album.
I don't know what. I don't. Yeah.
Well, I think it was. I mean, imagine
you ask somebody to collaborate.
You ask someone to collaborate. This is what they give you, and what are you going to say? You're going to say no to Tom Waits?
What else you got?
So I think that
doesn't really fit.
Yeah. Right. So that's kind of how it went down, and. Maybe he didn't know he was going to have such a great album without Tom Waits. Maybe he would have, asked Tom Waits for a little help on the next one.
Right. Well, 13. Maybe you could have cut this to 12.
Yeah, you tell Tom Waits.
Yeah. No, it's. I mean, other than that, just seems so out of place. But I loved. Sparklehorse is kind of a newer.
I just discovered him. I don't know, by accident, maybe a year ago.
Did you discover him, or was this given to us by somebody else?
I don't even.
I thought we had another friend who really
who turned us on to it.
Yeah.
It's possible. I don't remember. I don't even know what I did this morning.
Who might have a relationship with this show in a weird way.
Interesting.
Didn't he show us?
It's possible.
Yeah. All
right. I'm not saying no, and if it was, thank you very much.
I don't know. I think with the three of us, we're all fans.
Big fans.
But I thought it came from him.
It's entirely possible.
All right.
I cannot confirm nor deny that.
No.
Yeah. No, it's a magical album. Again, we talk about how I mean, I feel like I listen to a lot of music and stuff slips by me. And this segment, this segment of the podcast hopefully for the listeners, something that, you have the same experience that, even though this album is over 20 years old, it plays amazingly now.
It does.
It does not sound old at all.
Well, I like, there's a lot of there's a few shoegazer kind of influenced songs.
Yeah.
And I like the shoegazer stuff. Although I don't believe you actually
acknowledge it as a
genre.
As a genre, I think it's a weird. I have to say, I admit that it exists, but I don't understand it But sure, if you're talking about music that has lots of pedals
and distortion,
things like that makes sense. And if you're looking down at your pedal board and then you're gazing at your shoes.
But there was an anger side to it all, and
acceptance. I mean, you go through those stages of being wrong.
No, but I mean, there's a band. The band. To be a shoegazer band, you kind of also had to have almost a contempt for your fans.
Yeah, or just a lack of willingness to engage. Yeah, maybe it's more shyness than contempt. I don't know. But there's sort of a disassociation with the fans. I don't understand it because who's the band that we saw at the Shed? Jesus and Mary Chain.
Jesus and Mary Chain, yeah.
It was.
They were one of the classic shoegazers, and they were very engaging. Yeah.
not engaging.
No, well, other than the lighting, in fact. But
Other than you couldn't
they
see
actually
them.
talked to the band.
They did.
So,
but they had pretty much the stage lights turned off, and they were shadows up on the stage.
Right. Yeah.
And then to the extent that I was like, did they not pay the lighting guy or something?
Yeah, it was.
And then I thought maybe the lights were broken because the Psychedelic Furs, were they the headliner for that
They
show,
were,
or was it something
right.
else?
No,
So then I
you're right.
thought maybe and it was our first trip. Was it our first trip to the shed? At any rate, I thought the Psychedelic Furs were then going to be in total darkness, and I was going to be unhappy. Turns out the lights worked just fine for the Psychedelic Furs.
But it's your first experience with the whole shoegazer thing.
Yeah,
You thought I was making up that.
I kind of did.
All right.
I mean, if I can complete that story, just because.
Yeah, go ahead.
I ran into a guy I know who was actually the A&R man and who signed Moby. So if I could just name drop a tad. And he walks up to us, and we didn't know. I mean, I knew he was going to be at the show, but it's a general admission show, and we didn't find him. And we just happened to cross paths by accident. And he just threw out the word shoegazer after I had disparaged it when you had said it.
Winner.
And I couldn't say anything. I was like, yeah, that's a great shoegazer band. I like totally down with the shoegazer vibe, dude. Yeah. So that's how that happened.
I mean, so it is. Shoegazing is a lot of pedals and effects, but there's also an attitude that comes along with shoegazing, which is where you don't do a lot of interaction with the band or interaction with the audience.
Sure.
And there's no, hey, happy to be in Chicago
right.
with you guys.
Miles Davis could be the very first shoegazer.
Because
he used like effects on his trumpet and everything back in the day, and he would actually play with his back to the audience. So
was that shoegazing or shy?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. All right. Fair. Okay. So perfect song? Perfect album, sorry.
Well, here's the thing. Dog Door, the Tom Waits song, certainly disrupts the album.
It does.
But I'm willing to forgive it.
Really?
And call this a perfect album because this is an amazing album. And earlier I had talked about how I could barely make it through Radiohead, no matter how much I tried getting through OK Computer. Mm-hmm. Here's the difference. I was compelled to listen to this album. I could not turn it off. I wanted to hear the next song every time. And when it stopped playing, I put it back on again and listened to it again. And then I happily went down the rabbit hole of Sparklehorse. That's how much I loved it. Yeah. I found there's a Sundance, which used to be a cable station. I don't know if it still is. Back in the day,
yeah.
Sundance. It's a film festival, the Sundance Film Festival. Yep. And it's unfortunate Chauncey isn't here because he might really like this part of it.
Right.
But they had a show called Sonic Cinema, and this might also tie into your MTV infatuation. But they had a show called Sonic Cinema where they had these independent directors make videos for the songs. And which again struck me as odd because who ever heard of Sparklehorse? You know what I mean? It's like, why would... Yeah. But apparently people knew of them back in the day. You know how many... I know I'm jumping...
Well, they opened for Radiohead.
They did open for Radiohead. So maybe that's part of it. I mean, this album only sold 63,000 copies, but it's amazing. That's why it totally qualifies for a hidden gem. But at any rate, this Sonic Cinema, it's got like 7 or 8 songs. They're... that have movies attached to them, sort of these artsy type films. You'd probably hate them. Sadly, they're, it's on YouTube. You can watch on YouTube, but the image quality is really, it's basically a videotape or something. So if you think of what, TV looked like 20 years ago, it's not high def or anything like that. Although it is therefore lo-fi, and you may possibly like it. But I do think, again, I like this album so much. I went down that rabbit hole, watched the entire Sonic Cinema, stayed up way past my bedtime doing it. I really like this album.
All right, well, that's fair. Dog Door is so out of place. It just throws off the whole experience for me.
What if you?
But I like everything. I like everything else.
Yeah.
And so if you're out listening and you want to try something, you kind of like the chamber pop sound, try Gold Day or More Yellow Birds. If you like shoegazer like me, try Piano Fire or King of Nails.
Mm-hmm.
If you like industrial, do Dog Door, man.
So do Dog Door.
Chamber music, I think the title song or Devil's New would be good ones to try.
There's so many really fine songs on this album.
It is good if you just leave out Tom Waits.
Yep.
Talked about Vic Chestnut. He is credited as co-writer for Little Fat Baby.
Yes.
So,
Which again is a charming song.
It is a charming song. So they're very good. So it's close. I can't give it a perfect album because of Dog Door. So
I just feel like it's such a good album that I'm willing to look the other way when Dog Door comes.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, we got to leave this here, and we'll see you after this message. We flip it over to side 4. We're going to take a break because we didn't pick an album for next week. All right, so side 4 is where the maestro of music, the siren of sound, the doctor of the diminished chord, the one, the only Brek Hufnus, gives us his ranking of the albums. So this is episode 13. So where it fits on this massive list now of 13 albums that we've covered.
Yeah.
Where do you put OK Computer on that list?
Yeah, and I always, for as silly a task as this is, I give it a lot of thought. So OK Computer, as I've said earlier, kind of struggled to get through the album, but there's no denying its importance overall, and I don't dislike the album. Here's what it came down to for me, actually. Like, my personal experience with the album is everybody just said it was the greatest album of all time from the moment it came out, and I listened to it and I was just like, what am I missing? This is not the greatest album of all time. And I've come to the conclusion that I'm not missing anything. It's a really good album. I was just more about so it's a very, very good album. It's an outstanding album. It's not better than Moondance. If that's what you're wondering, because I know you're hanging on that.
Yeah.
And we'll see. I mean,
it's a lot of artistry that I would find a lot of comparison with Van Morrison as far as the songwriting,
Yeah, there are many elements to this album that I like. There's all the components I love. It's just
the package,
the whole
together.
package. Yeah, it's like for once the whole is not greater than the sum of the parts. The sum of the parts are amazing, and there are many excellent songs on this album. So I'm not writing this album off completely. I have it. I don't think this is properly placed. Like, as I'm looking at it, I'm like, maybe not. But I have it 9th on our list of 13 albums. I have it ahead of Joshua Tree. I have it behind Brothers in Arms. No, I know it's rough, but there's a list of there are a list of super important albums. Some of my higher ranked albums, of course, Moondance, but then The Doors, Aqualung, London Calling, Blonde on Blonde. These are all heavyweights, right? Yeah. And then you get to albums that I think are still really important, but that I really like to listen to. And they're both important, and I like listening to them. And those are like Moving Pictures, Bad Out of the Hells, Brothers in Arms.
Sure.
So this is an album that's really important, but I don't really like listening to it. So it gets number 9.
No surprise for me. So this was my pick. I have it ranked very high on my list.
We're not going to find that out until
the 20th episode.
All right, I can't wait for that.
We'll redo my
when the
my
show
top 10.
reveals
The show
picks.
is
yes.
correct. But no, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, I knew you weren't. I knew you weren't a big fan of the album going into this, but you've never really talked well about this. As I gushed over it, you were less enthusiastic.
Right,
so.
and that's kind of the problem is people are always gushing all over it. I'm like, yeah, it's good, but geez, give me a break.
I always struggle with, the only thing I ever struggle with this is it Radiohead's best album?
I can answer that for you right now.
Is Kid A better? So, anyways, all right. So
that's a good question.
It may come up next time.
I'm sure that will come up
album.
again.
Yeah. So, which is also just another gigantic leap in changing of music and much more electronic and.
Yep.
Yeah. So, all right. With that, we'll do some thank yous. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Deeper Connection Counseling, Diane Blackburn, Beard and Warner, Smith Films, LR Media. You know, we love. We very much miss our producer Chauncey from Smidge Films. Couldn't be here today, so
yep.
we're mustering on. We appreciate he had some technical input for us before the show to make sure we had everything hooked up right. So this is either
we'll find out if you get to hear this podcast or not.
If you're watching this, we were able to. He helped us through the hurdles. LR Media, you're doing a fantastic job. We got starting to blow up out there, and we greatly appreciate it. With that, please like us, leave a comment. Commenting, whether it's on YouTube or TikTok or iHeart or Apple Music or Spotify, helps people find us, and that is truly, from the bottom of my heart, say thank you to all of us. We're becoming somebody in the world, and it's kind of cool. So appreciate it. Thanks for everybody for making it this far in the show. And with that, I am Fat Guy 1.
Fat Guy 2.
We'll see you next time. For the record, all my details about that song is too
all
small.
There.
So I couldn't actually read it.
Are you
so
reading
I didn't know
like
the
your
name
plus
of the
3
artist
readers on? Or?
Yeah, I would have had to zoom it up, but I didn't realize I couldn't read it till I was already into it. I
and
still
then you're
can't
like
read.
smashing it up to your face. It's like 0.4. Is this?
I don't. It's just a
use my
snip. I
4
snipped it, and I
use my 4 font and get a lot of information.